My greetings to honorable ministers, distinguished guests, and all the participants in the ET Education, Innovation and Skill Summit. I believe that this summit is happening at a very appropriate time. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with vaccine being rolled out. And we are also seeing that the number of cases in India are significantly coming down. So you can say that we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, if I look back at what has happened over the last 10 to 12 months with the COVID crisis kind of, impacting the entire world, one thing is very clear that we have all transitioned to leveraging digital technologies in all aspects of our life, including education. You may say that this was something that was imposed upon us. We didn't have a choice. But having said that, I believe that we have transitioned to a digital life better than I would have actually assumed, especially those that are in white collar jobs, those who have access to internet, those who are able to connect to internet, and I'll come back to this. But that has forced us to relook at all our processes, including how education is delivered, how exams are conducted, how interviews are conducted. Every aspect of education has been impacted by the transition to digital. I know some people say that what could have taken 5 years has just taken 5 months. In some sense, it has accelerated the transition to digital. Now, I believe that the future is going to be a mixed model, hybrid model, because we have tasted the advantages of digital. There are two specific advantages that I want to talk about. One is from a synchronous classroom-based education to an asynchronous digital means of education at our convenience on our personal devices. We can actually consume education. Now, this is tremendous potential because the internet has huge amounts of content delivered by some of the best teachers in the world. And now this is accessible to every citizen of the world. I think that's a tremendous change and an advantage. Now, how can that be brought into a classroom model? In the classroom, the teacher will then transition to become an enabler, a coach, a mentor, a facilitator, and the teacher will draw upon material that is available on the internet and let the students listen to the content, see the content, learn from the content, and they can also be asked to learn at their convenience or even before the class, hear the content and come to the class. The classroom then can be transformed into learning by doing, a workshop, a place where teamwork can be encouraged. And this is the reason why I believe that the future will be a hybrid model where we will have the best elements of in-person classroom education and the digital content delivered by the best teachers on the internet. Now, the additional advantages, the student can actually learn, relearn, listen again and again the same content, go through the content and learn at a different pace than his batchmates or classmates. So we will use recorded material from the internet in the future. Another reason why we will transition to an hybrid mode is that we have a lot of learnings from the physical classroom that is not available when you look at a remote class or a digital classroom. In the physical classroom, as I said, we learn teamwork, we learn to work together, we learn to help each other, we learn to support each other, we learn to ask questions to our classmates, etc. So there's peer-to-peer learning that happens. Similarly, in the physical classroom, there are extracurricular activities in the campus, in the school, which again teach you soft skills, which teach you leadership skills, which give you opportunities to become captain of a team, to become a leader, etc. Again, those are good life skills that you need to learn. The third is you learn to be independent of your family. You learn to make independent decisions. You need to motivate yourself. You need to learn by yourself, and that again is a life skill that a physical campus provides. And last but not the least, the network that you create, the batchmates that you have, will become a valuable asset for you in the long term, because you carry this for the rest of your life. And in my case, for example, some of my best friends, best peers in the industry are those who have actually studied with me, who have studied in the same alma mater. The alma mater becomes very, very important. The pandemic also has exposed the issues with digital education. I briefly touched upon this, those who have access to. So we need to now provide internet access to every home in the country. We need to make sure that every home has a end user device, a tablet or a PC, or sometimes a mobile phone. So that is, I think, very, very important to make sure that we do not leave anybody behind. And this typically ends up as a service or a solution that is primarily driven by the government. In India, we have been benefiting from amazing telecom coverage, but still we need to make sure that either we transition to 5G or we provide broadband to every home in the country. Access to internet has to become a basic right in our country. Some states are already talking about it. Now, I will switch to another aspect of content that's available on the internet. Most of the content, unfortunately, is only available in English. So we need to, one, make sure that we make content available in vernacular languages. This is again very important from an aspect of equal access to everybody, be it somebody in Kannada language or in Tamil or Hindi. They should be able to access the content irrespective of what their mother tongue is, what their vernacular language is. The next point I want to talk about is how this will transition education from a medium to long-term perspective. Now that content is available, courses are available on the internet, and you can take these at your convenience, there's an opportunity to think about microcredits, certifications that are available, short-term courses that are available over the internet or in the classroom. And the new education policy the government has formulated actually promotes this, supports this, and I completely support the transition to a degree that is earned incrementally, that consists of credits that can be acquired from multiple sources, in-class courses, courses from the internet, and mixed mode courses. All of these now can be put together to get the requirement, to earn the requirements of a degree and get a common degree. This also allows you to get degrees from multiple institutions, or the requirements for the degree provided by multiple educational institutions or educational sources. The other aspect of this is exits at multiple points of time. So, if you join a 3-year degree program, at the end of the first year or at the end of 6 months, if you want to exit and take those credits to somewhere else, you can now do that. All of these are part of the new education policy, and I really commend the government for the new education policy and look forward to actually accelerated implementation so that our education now can come to the 21st century. This also allows you to mix and match subjects and disciplines. Again, this I believe is something that is very much required in today's world, where the innovation happens at the intersection of subjects or at the edge. So for example, when you look at computer science and biology, or biology, mathematics, and engineering, these are some of the sciences, some of the areas where we find now new innovation. So for example, if you look at the mRNA vaccine, the messenger RNA vaccine, it's completely created in the laboratory using computer science, using biology, and using engineering. Now, of course, that's one of the vaccines that are available. It promises that in the future, when a pandemic strikes, we will be able to create a vaccine very, very quickly. So these kind of changes are now required to be embraced by our educational system. The other point I want to make is about globalization. Of course, we can now draw content from the best universities from around the world, but we should also be contributing to the programs that are available on the internet, and India has made a start with contributing to content that's available on the internet, both from public universities, from IITs, Indian Institute of Science, etc., and a large and growing private sector involvement in education that has truly become global. Some of our unicorns in the education sector are actually our startups that have now become global, are providing educational services to students all over the world, all the way from K-12 to college education and things like that. Now, we need to also leverage this. See, we are creating a brand online first, but we need to now leverage this to attract students to come to India and learn in our best universities. For this, of course, our universities must truly become education and research, or research-led educational institutions. They must upgrade the skill set of their teachers to become good communicators. They must improve the physical infrastructure of these universities to become some of the best physical universities in the world. And last but not the least, they must improve their hostel infrastructure such that the students from anywhere can come to India to study. Already we are attracting students from developing countries, the neighborhood, but we need to attract students from the best universities, best schools around the world to come to India and attend our courses and things like that. I believe it is possible because teachers from India and the private sector have both shown that our education system is world-class. These teachers go and teach at the best universities in the world. In many of the universities, especially in the English-speaking countries, 20% of the faculty are actually of Indian origin, 20-25% are of Indian origin. So our teachers are very good, and our private sector, the startups, have shown that our education now can actually be delivered around the world. We also have the advantage of cost because the education in India will be cost effective, and if we improve the quality to become world-class, I think this is an unbeatable combination. All in all, I look forward to our education system benefiting from the transition to digital, our education system benefiting from the new education policy that the government has put forward, our education system benefiting from the new found globalized private sector education from India led by startups. And I believe that the next 20-30 years are going to be the best time for education from in India, and India can truly become a global destination for education in the future. Thank you.
Academia-industry relations, how significant is going forward?
I believe it is very, very significant. The output of the educational system is the input to the industry, right? The industry are the consumers of these students. They become the employees of the industry, and hence the industry's requirement must be clearly understood by the education system. For this, we also need to add one more aspect of education, which is continuing education. I did not address that in my speech. This also becomes very important. To date, our educational institutions have thought of themselves as educating once, right? And then they become employees of the industry. But in the future, these employees will have to relearn, will have to go through education again, continuing education again. So there is now a continuous relationship between the student, the employee, and the educational institution and industry. So there will be a continuous cycle. The students go from educational institution to become employees, then employee becomes student again. And that relationship now becomes a lifelong relationship. And I believe that the educational institutions must prepare themselves to provide the best continuing education. This will become also new revenue streams for the educational institution. So I think it will be a win-win scenario. And this is a very, very important relationship that every educational institution must decide, who is going to be the customer of our students, and build those relationships as permanent relationships, because those customers now will give you students for the future in the continuing education program.
Thank you very much, sir.